It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you today. We are very happy to be able, in a moment, to announce our new director. But I want to acknowledge all of you who are here, particularly trustees who are here, who have been enormously supportive of this effort to find a new director. It has been quite a long procedure, although it was no longer than the search for John Buchanan. I'd like to emphasize that fact. Both searches took about 13 months. And my selection committee, which was 13 people, and I would like to acknowledge them and thank them very much for their participation. In particular, the search committee voted to appoint this particular individual in January, and they have been able to keep the secret of this person until today. And I really commend them because it's a very hard secret to keep. And I know that there have been many rumors of names of people, 6 that I know of in particular, including my dog Twinkle, but I actually started that rumor myself. And so they have been really outstanding in their ability to keep the secrets of the board and this particular individual. So I want to thank all of them for their loyalty and their support to the museums and to me personally, which I very much appreciate. We have an outstanding group of trustees, and their love of this institution is astounding, but rightfully deserved. So thank you all the trustees who I see in this room today. I want to also say how much we appreciate the support of the staff. We have a really outstanding staff at this museum. They are a happy lot, and they are a very competent group of people. And I have worked with them for years, and I enjoy every moment that I'm with them, and I'd like to say I think they enjoy working with me as well. So I want to thank them for their loyalty, and I was speaking to a lot of them this morning. They're very excited at the announcement of a new director, but they have been functioning very well with our deputy director, Richard Benefield, who has been here as a deputy director since September and has done an excellent job, and we look forward to having him with our new director. So it gives me great pleasure to announce that our new director is Colin B. Bailey, who is the Deputy Director of the Frick Museum, and he is also the Peter J. Sharp Chief Curator of the Frick Museum. And I think that to have those 2 skills will be extremely important for our museum, where we need to have strength in that department. The selection committee spent a great deal of time trying to decide what direction we should pursue in looking for a new director. We had spent months deciding, when we were looking for John Buchanan, what the qualities we needed at that time. We wanted to become the great exhibition museum because we had just built the space, and I think that John did that for us admirably. And we did in fact become the great exhibition museum west of the Potomac River, which was my goal since I come from Washington, D.C. And our next step, we believe, was to focus on our own collections, to elevate ourselves intellectually, to have a leader who really was a scholar and known internationally as a scholar, and someone who would elevate this museum in that direction and focus on the really excellent art which we have in this museum, mount exhibitions based on the collections we have, and further the name of the fine arts museums in that area. I think there's no one who would be better than Colin Bailey. He's a very personable individual. He is certainly knowledgeable in every area of art, not just in European art, which is his specialty, but he is also a very delightful person, and I know our staff will love working with him. I know our trustees will love working with him, and I think he's watching this somewhere in the world. So Colin, wherever you are, can't wait to have you here. He's really fun, and I did tell all the staff after John died, who was so beloved here, that we would look for somebody who was the great leader for this institution, but also somebody who was fun, and because John was really fun. So I feel that we have fulfilled every qualification that we were looking for, and we cannot wait until he comes. His start date is June 1st, but he will come out here in that interim period, so we're looking forward to having him very, very much. And it now gives me enormous pleasure to introduce our other leader, the mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee, who is the person who guides us in every way, and this is a city institution, and we really value his input, and the fact that he's here today is a great honor for us. Mayor Lee.
Thank you, Dee Dee. First of all, let me tell you how I'm excited about being here at the Young. I always get excited when I come to the Young, and I want to signal my appreciation and praise to the Board of Trustees and to its wonderful president, Dee Dee Wilsey. You've just done a marvelous job time and time again with the Board of Trustees to keep the strong confidence in investing not only in this museum, the Legion of Honor, but in our cultural institutions in general. I just came back from Paris, and to let you know how, last time I was in Paris was a high school student, and this time I got to be received by Mayor Delanoë, and he is such a arts freak, if you will, as a mayor, and he reminded me that he loves our city because of our cultural institutions, and we are world-renowned because of your work. So kudos to the Board of Trustees, to the staff, the people who run this organization, to all of the members and hopefully would-be members. Quickly get your admissions into this because it's going to continue being great. Now, many of you know I work hard for the city. I've always worked hard for the city, but one of the reasons I do is because so many others work hard for the greatness of our city. And I can't see it more reflected than our cultural institution, the very fabric of why we're one of the #1 destinations in all of the world to come to. And whether it's people from Paris or Cork or China, the De Young Museum, Golden Gate Park, what it means to them, the Legion of Honor, this very exhibit that we're doing now with the girl with the pearl earrings, it's just drawing wonderful crowds. In fact, last year, the De Young drew 1.6 million visitors. That's an incredible number. And then, to add to that, both museums combined together service over 250,000 children and families. This is an incredible part of what our city is. And I know that you know I've been working hard to attract different businesses, create more jobs in the city, provide more housing, all in an effort to make the city more successful. But I will always, always say, Dee Dee, that it is people like you and the Board of Trustees that provide us with a reason why to work hard to keep this city great as an international city, to make sure that we do all the things, because arts, oftentimes when you talk to the employees of all the technology companies that I've been talking with every week and ask them what draws their talent to a city, the first 3 things they know, whether it's public transportation, it's also the arts, because that's what keeps their creative mind functioning. And it's these institutions with their wonderful service and their continuing exhibitions, world-renowned exhibitions that introduce and keep their minds active, and it keeps the tremendous amounts of visitors coming to our city. I know how difficult it has been for the board and for the president to make the adequate search it is to match up the right person with such an incredible institutions as these are. And I, for one, know how difficult it is. And when you're trying to do that, when you're running government, I want to also say to the staff that I enjoyed Mr. Buchanan's leadership as much as you did. He was a colleague. He was a department head with me. And so to fill those shoes with Mr. Bailey now, I'm excited because I trust this Board of Trustees. The time that you spent in your selection process, the care that you've given, I'm going to put every trust in and welcome in Mr. Colin Bailey to be yet another colleague of ours in the official city family. I look forward and I'm excited to it because we have a lot of great work to do, and this city is on such a great recovery economically for everybody that there's going to be even that many more families who are going to enjoy the institutions that we have here. So on that background and with that effort, I want to congratulate the board again. Thank you to the staff. I know that the attendance is going to continue increasing. I know that the contributions to not only art, but to just the way we live in our city is going to continue because of this institution and the institutions that you are in charge of. So I'm here to just be a part of this experience, to welcome in Mr. Bailey, but also know that your mayor is looking out and being a part of this institution. And I want you to know that I am very happy to be part of the board's effort and the staff's effort to continue this great institution, all the wonderful work that you do. So it's my pleasure to be here. I'm enthusiastic about our museums, Dee Dee, and we'll continue making them all the success they have been for many, many decades. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I'm also very happy to say that on March 12th, we had our millionth visitor of our fiscal year, which doesn't end until June 30th. So I think we'll have another record-breaking year. And all of our wonderful shows this year, exhibitions, are doing very, very, very well. So a week ago, Wednesday, we had over 13,000 visitors in this museum. So we're really on a roll, as the mayor said, and we look forward to many, many more successes. So, and with Colin as our new leader, I know he's going to come up with some other wonderful exhibitions. So we now are going to have a video tape, which someone is going to create. Is that correct? I always say the only kind of art I'm interested in acquiring is the finest that there is. And I feel that our search was the same. We all agreed that the next level for us would be to raise our persona intellectually and also to look into our curatorial strength. And I said that to my selection committee. What we have to do is find the finest person there is. And I think we've been able to do that, and I can't wait to show you all.
After an exhaustive international search, the Board of Trustees has selected Dr. Colin Bailey as the new director of the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco.
Well, when I was chairing the National Endowment's Indemnity Panel, I was amazed. Every meeting, San Francisco had the most ambitious projects. I was always wondering, how is it they've got Picasso? How is it they're doing music, the Musée d'Orsay show? How is it they have these shows? I was very impressed with this energy and really didn't quite understand how this had happened, but could see that it had happened.
After the tragic death of our director, John Buchanan, we really had to decide how to reinvent ourselves and how to go to the next level. I am absolutely thrilled because we finally found the right person. To be able to say that we have a scholar of that stature who is now running our museum is really a great coup for us. They know your name. And of course what they'll do is Google you, because they Google. And I can't wait until they do.
You'll find that Dr. Colin Bailey studied at Oxford. He held posts at the Getty in Malibu, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the Kimball in Fort Worth, and the National Gallery of Canada. He's been awarded the Mitchell Prize for Best Art History Book.
I don't want to get bound up with one approach. I want to go back to a sort of fundamental obligation of the museum, which is to conserve, to show, to communicate, to educate. You know, museums were places of both enlightenment and enjoyment, and both of those are important.
Since 2000, Dr. Bailey has been Deputy Director and Chief Curator at the Frick Collection in New York City. Now, he's in San Francisco.
For me, it's something of a dream come true. I've long wanted to be the director of a museum, and a museum whose collections, whose displays, whose programming and educational philosophy I can feel comfortable with and admire. And to be honest, the fact that the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, in a way, are the Met, MoMA, the Frick, the Morgan all in one, and serve as that for this vibrant community, I'm really excited. I know there's thorough support for the types of projects and directions that I hope to introduce. What so excited me on the visits I've made to San Francisco is how welcomed you feel when you step into the De Young or the Legion. That sense of a home, of a place, regardless of size, is very important. And it was thrilling to me to see that there's already such enthusiasm for the audience.
What Dr. Bailey loves most is talking about the art itself.
And making them accessible and allowing people to enter them.
Just listen to the way he enters these works. From Tiepolo.
The goddess Flora, who was the goddess of fertility, of flowers, of spring, became somewhat licentious goddess for the Floralia, these games that happened every spring to sort of bring in the regeneration, if you like. And this is a fantastic painting by one of the greatest 18th century artists in any country, Giovanni Battista Tiepolo, painting at the top of his game. This is the most flamboyant, the most exciting, the most sensuous picture by this artist, one of the most. The colors are fantastic. It's an impeccable state of conservation and preservation, and we do feel that everything is possible. Life is fully burgeoning.
To Georgia O'Keeffe.
We can't, when we look at it, but think of fertility and of femininity, of some sense of generation. We can almost smell the perfume.
To Rembrandt.
By the end of his life, a bankrupt, his mistress incarcerated, he's really lost this primacy, but he won't change the way he paints.
Some of Dr. Bailey's observations about artists parallel his own experience with art museums.
You have to have real commitment and belief in your vision, or in what you're doing and what you believe is right. And yes, of course, you have to be flexible and you have to be malleable to a degree, but at a certain point you keep going. And I think that is the case of these great artists.
We are finally led to another of the museum's great treasures, Three Machines by Wayne Thiebaud.
I think one's first reaction is just how joyful and how bright and how luminous and how happy one feels looking at these quotidian, banal objects. Painting perhaps about wanting more than we can have, about consumerism, but also about childhood pleasures. I've loved this artist, I've seen quite a lot of his work, and when I look at this, I just feel happy.
Okay, we now have a brief question and answer period, if anyone has any questions. No? Okay.
I may have one.
All right.
When you say he's fun, what does he bring? What changes do you foresee for the museum because of Colin coming here?
Well, I think what he'll do, first of all, I think he will take his time getting to know the museum and the staff, really evaluating, especially because we have two museums, it's really a matter of becoming familiar with both of them. They're very different in character, and I think he's a very studied person. I think he will spend several months getting to know all the aspects of the museums, and then I think he will make some very serious evaluations. His strength is in curatorial matters in particular, and I think he'll take a really serious look at our department and evaluate whether we have the finest people we can have, and are we running the department in the best way possible, and other departments as well. This is not my area of expertise. I am the board president. I deal with the trustees, and the deputy director runs the museum. So I'm sure there'll be many conversations between the deputy director and the director, should he choose to keep the deputy director, because the director has the ability to remove anyone he wishes to remove. I'm sure he won't do that right away, but I think that he will make whatever changes he feels will strengthen this museum, these two museums. And that will be entirely up to him, but I know that he will want to do what he believes from his vast experience is absolutely the right thing for the Fine Arts Museums, and that's why we hired him.
Question about timing. I think you said The search committee found him in January,
Right.
and there was an executive committee meeting on March 14 canceled. So the trustees met 2 hours before the announcement, and I was wondering about the timing of that.
The selection committee was formed a year ago, January, and we met all through the year. We had 8 finalists, and these people were brought in to meet with the committee. There are 13 people on the selection committee. There were a number of names that were considered more names than the 8. We narrowed it down to 8. And then we brought them in, and out of the 8, there were 3 finalists. And those 3 finalists were brought in a number of times. You can imagine trying to get 13 people with lives and 8 people who are directors or high up in museums to come in and then be anonymous when you wanted to bring them over to the museums and not let the staff recognize them because they're pretty much all recognizable people was really an incredibly difficult task. And you have summer months where directors are running their own museums and have exhibitions, where trustees, because we have so many young trustees, have children out of school. It was really like herding cats to get all these people together and have these subsequent interviews. So, and that was true when we were doing the search for John Buchanan as well. So finally, in January, the selection committee voted to appoint Colin Bailey. However, we had to be in sync with his board, and he was not able to inform his board until yesterday. That was the time lapse, and that is why we canceled the March 14th board meeting, because there was no point to have it. We had to vote to appoint him, because by our charter we appoint, not elect. The selection committee votes on it, it then goes to the board, and our board today voted to appoint him, both in the FAM section and the co-FAM section of our board meeting. And, but it was in order to afford him the courtesy to talk to his own board and the people he needed to talk to before we could inform our board. And that was unfortunately a time lag of about 6 weeks. And he, of course, wanted to give proper notice, and that's why he will not be officially joining us until June 1st. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you all very much. I hope we'll see you many, many times in our press conferences and our dealings with our new director, and the great success that I'm sure he will bring further success to us here at the Fine Arts Museums. Thank you.